I'd like to take a moment to explain why I'll be opposing this nominee. Maryland, and it's all of us that represent our communities, we've seen that the entire state, there's a crisis in juvenile crime, juvenile criminal activity. I did some digging and some research, and since 2019, we've had hundreds of juveniles that have been involved in shootings, just in shootings. Nearly 100 juveniles have been killed since 2019 in these shootings. And we're seeing an unacceptable level of criminal activity and violence, both perpetrated by juveniles and done to juveniles. My concern with this nomination is that it seems to be furthering the policy choices that we've made here that have helped to put us in this situation. And so there's these awful and scary statistics, but they're not just numbers, they're real lives and they're real people. And we can't keep doing what we've been doing in the area of juvenile crime. We can't double down on more failed and dangerous policies. You know that the number of juveniles that have been murdered is, this calendar year, is double the number of juveniles murdered in all of 2021. And we're only in the middle of February. And the concern that I have, and many of us have expressed in the past here as we've talked about this particular nomination, is it seems that the focus of this nominee and of our criminal justice policy in this state has more and more become all about making sure we're not being too tough on the offender. It's all carrots and no sticks. What about the victims of crime? From my perspective, I can't say it any better than the Prince George's County executive back this past summer in response to doing a curfew said, these kids don't just need a hug, they need to be held accountable. And unfortunately, the things attributed to the current nominee and frankly the entire attitude around this issue that we're seeing has been one was not an attitude, it's we need more hugs. We need more wraparound services. And none of us are against making sure we get more services for these kids that are just entering the system. And we want the system to work better. And we know that there's some reform ideas that we want to continue working on that. But there has to be accountability, and there has to be some sticks to go with the carrots. And that's not happening right now. And my fear is that this is throwing gas on the fire. It's just continuing this idea that, you know, the idea of accountability, the idea of, when I first learned about the term restorative justice, I remember it was, we want people to get a second chance. We want to restore them to the community. But they have to make amends. And it's part of that whole process. And we've lost that. We've lost the making amends part. And so young people need discipline and structure. And so the concern with this nomination is that we're not going to get that we're going to get more of the failed policies that we've seen. And frankly, the failed policy has been tried in some other places. More of the failed policies of accommodating, being concerned we're being too hard on the young person that's committed the crime, as opposed to being concerned about their actions and accountability in the victims. So, Mr. President, I'm going to say I'm voting against this nominee. I do believe the governors have the right to pick their people, and it's our job to vet and vet those nominations. But I will be voting no, because I believe we have to send a message. We have to get serious about what's happening on crime, especially with dealing with juveniles in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.